Apparently, here we are. We're live. It's Graham Cove. It's my music. It's 4:30 where I am on a Friday afternoon, which means it's nearly beer time, but not quite for my guest yet. Although I don't know. Have you got the beer yet, Michael? Is it coffee?
It's just really dark and black, and
we were just talking about surnames, and you said that everyone gets your surname wrong. So it's Ciravolo. Is that right?
That sounds perfect. Nice Italian descent.
And we're talking about the band Beauty and Chaos today, which we'll talk about in a minute. Can you pronounce my surname? Do you know how to pronounce that? Just out of interest. No, it's pronounced Kof. So the TH is pronounced like an F. But you see, it's such a short name. You'd think that people would get it right, wouldn't you? They never do.
When I see CH, I always think it's pronounced as an F.
Yeah, there you go. You see, but I'm glad we both experienced the same thing going through school of people getting our name completely wrong. So I feel we've bonded over that already. So tell me a little bit about this whole band, because it's not just a project. It's a proper band. How did it come about in the first place?
I guess it teeters the line to be a band, being that it's never really been a live thing. I think we've done we've done an acoustic show with my wife Dirk and South African singer Ashton Knight, who's done a lot of songs with us. But it started for a short minute as a solo project of mine. It was a little bit of frustration about an album I was working on with some friends, and my partner in this, Michael Rozon, kind of turned to me, sensing the frustration, and just went, "Well, why don't you do your own record?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then as soon as it blurts out, "Yeah," you figure you're going, "Okay, now I actually have to do this." And guitar player records, a guitar player trying to sing, or an instrumental record would, to me, a fairly boring. And it just, I figured, well, in my day job at Schecter Guitar, I've become friends with a lot of fantastic and talented people, and said, well, maybe I'll kind of ask a couple of them to sing. And I think Michael was a little hesitant, like that could happen. And then after we put together a couple of tracks, the first two people that came into the studio were Robin Zander of Cheap Trick and Al from Ministry. So he turned around after Al left, and he goes, "I think you're going to be able to pull this off." And it just kind of spiraled from there, and it expanded and grew. It's just, I don't look at it as my band. I look at it as just kind of something I curate, and we put together and bring some pretty fantastic people together. Some that have never played together, and on paper, it doesn't seem like, having a record with Wayne Hussey and Al Jorgensen, or Ice-T and Ashton Knight, or something like how the hell that's going to work. But somehow I think we pull it off, and it sounds cohesive.
Is that the reference with the name then, or did that come from somewhere else?
No, that was. I guess looking back at it now, there is certainly that chaos pulling that together, and kind of the oddity of it. But it struck. I had the cover concept, which is my wife Tish, who's on the first album, and I has two daughters, kind of in this abandoned building, and it just kind of tied into, not to get all esoterical, but kind of like what I viewed the world, trying to find something beautiful in the chaos and, everything political, war, other, the crap around us. And
well, do you know what? It's something that's come up in other interviews at the moment, and you probably feel the same. But this is a name that's kind of taken even more sort of meaning out of this last 8 months or so, right?
Yeah, I think everybody, and some have managed and some have not, to find something, beautiful or at least worthwhile than this, going on pretty much a year shutdown. I mean, that saying it like that is kind of crazy, but it's like a year ago. My wife and I were in New York because our oldest daughter goes to college there, and we got on a plane on her birthday and flew back, and that birthday's coming up in a week, and
Right.
we had to get her back like a week later as everything started shutting down. So yeah, it's been a year, and certainly a lot of chaos, but I think, for us, we've managed to find a silver lining and something in this, and put out two records, a full studio album, and then this massive remix record. So, I mean, there is some good that comes from it.
Yeah. And so this is now a warning to anybody that comes to buy a guitar from you, is it not? This is like the walk in to get a guitar, walk out having taken part in an album.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, hey, you're gonna sign on, you're gonna sing on the record.
That's tremendous. So who do you want to walk into the shop next? That's a question, isn't it?
Wow, I keep trying to twist Robert Smith's arm to do it. Not sure. I've managed to get Simon and Roger. Haven't convinced Robert to do it yet. So
yeah,
working on him. But
so you need to sneakily sort of say, Robert, I really need to show you this new guitar.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think you'll be on the next one, as we're going with all female singers on that.
Right. Okay. When are you starting that, or have you started that already?
Yeah. Kind of started as the remix record was happening, being that was sort of us handing the keys over to other people who had to do the heavy lifting on that. So we're 2 tracks in on this next record, with about 60% done with the tracks, those 2 songs, but really happy with it.
That's great. So can I ask who you've got vocal wise on that already?
It's two extremely talented ladies. One, an Italian. She's in an Italian band. I think it's pronounced Curian Camera. Elena Alice Fossey. Great voice, big, powerful stage image, and a New York-based New York singer who's moved to Los Angeles, Whitney Ty, who we've been working with on this new song, which actually has a title called Orion, and it's fantastic. I think, some people look at Beauty and Chaos and it's always like this. Well, who are you going to get next? Like trying to keep one up, and hey, am I going to get Barbara Streisand on the record, or Susie?
Nothing wrong with that.
No, probably not. We'll see how Barbara, how you like this Distortion Box you're going to send? But I realized that what started off is not, gimmicks the wrong word, but just that got the attention to Beauty and Chaos.
Yeah.
I wanted it to turn more just about the songs and not about who's doing them. I think we got it established enough to where I think people listen to it for just what's on it and not who's on it.
Yeah. And has that been quite refreshing for you in terms of this remix album? I mean, I think when I spoke to you the other day, you said it was like, handing over the keys to your beloved, almost like your beloved car, really, isn't it? And letting someone else drive it.
This is the second. It's kind of the second time we've done it this way. I mean, when we did the first record, Finding Beauty in Chaos, by accident, we started a remix record. And I've said the story before, but I'll just give it to you briefly. I had set, being that this was going to be a solo record, and I was, kind of wanting to prove to myself I could pull this off. I put this, myself in a box and going, no keyboards and no other guitar players on the record. So all the sounds in that first record we made with guitars through pedals, effects, noise, stuff like that. So I sent 2 tracks to Tim Palmer, who's, legendary, Mixed the Mission, Cure, U2, Tears for Fears, Robert Plant, just always one of my top producers in the world. And I was lucky to meet Tim through Wayne from the Mission. So I sent him two tracks to remix, he was actually just going to do mixes for him. And, I didn't really preface him with my own rules that I'd given myself. So he sent it back, and within the first couple of notes, I'm like, oh shit, he's added some guitar, and he added some really great stuff. I mean, he's extremely talented instrumentalist also, and I'm like, how the hell do I tell Tim Palmer, hey man, great mix, can you pull your everything you added off of it?
Can you pull all that off, please?
Yeah.
Stop now.
I'm not going to say that, and it just sparked, hey, we can do, maybe there's a remix record, or maybe these are some bonus tracks, and that spiraled. So when we did the last studio record, The Storm Before the Calm, I had actually went, hey, this was really fun, kind of after being so vested and so involved in listening to every note and nuance on it, to kind of turn it over again, those same keys, to others to do what they hear with it. It was such an enjoyable process. We just said, hey, let's do it again. And like we mentioned when we spoke briefly yesterday, one of the silver linings in this COVID shutdown, and I certainly don't mean to make light of it for people that are suffering, was that people that probably would have said, hey man, I'd love to, but I'm busy. Roger O'Donnell from The Cure probably would have been doing a knee deep in the Cure record. My friend Tyler Bates, he's a composer here, does Guardians of the Galaxy and crazy John Wick movies, would have been doing those, and Tim would have been doing some major record. But they all they were just kind of sitting there going, hey, yes, send me the tracks, and
get me out of here.
Yeah, please, we have more. But that was the silver lining, that those people were able to do it and kind of turned it around quick. So I guess with everything, you can try to find, you need to find something, beauty in the chaos.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You certainly do. And this is in terms of the way that you work with this as well, looking at the lead song off of this remix album, that is a really cool video. How did that come about?
Which one are we talking about? You're looking at the remix record, which is The Delicate Balance.
Yeah, Delicate Balance.
That was it's on The Storm Before the Calm, and we, I had, as we started that record, I wanted to do something darker. I had been kind of really listening to Disintegration and Pornography and The Sisters, First and Last and Always, and I kind of liked the real linear feel of those albums. And it's like after the first record, I thought was, had these kind of obvious hooks and chorus, and here's the hook of the song. I wanted to do something that was a little more straight line and not these big highs and lows. And so the first singer I reached out to was Wayne Hussey again, because we had shot some videos, and I started talking like, hey, going to do another record. I hope you're up for it. And he had just finished writing his book, so he gave me the, I think I'm all out of words, but send it over anyway. So I sent it over, and like 3 days later, he had this, and he had said that title, The Delicate Balance, of all things, was something he was always kicking around in his head about a possible Mission album title or a solo thing. And he said, I reserve the right to use it. It's like, fine, man. You did a song, all your title. So when we did the remix of it, it was great to hand that over to Tim and see what he would do with it. And we were able to put together kind of some cool video stuff around it.
Yeah. Was that shot in some kind of circus somewhere?
Oh, okay. So you're talking about, all right. There's several versions of that song. So that's actually his wife, Cynthia. Gorgeous voice. I had heard her, Wayne had sent over a track of hers that she had written, which turned out to be My Heart is a Ghost Town, a demo of that. And it's like, wow, she's got a great voice. And I had looked, and she had done a couple of cover songs. Every Day's Like Sunday, and I think a Depeche Mode song on her mandolin, just kind of sitting in their living room. And I just was really attracted to her voice. I thought she's great. So I wanted to strip down that version of the song. So we pulled out all the heavy guitars. We really kind of jumped back to just a click track and Wayne's vocal. And we added just some less ominous sounds around it and sent it to him and said, hey, why don't you ask Cynthia if she wanted to sing? So I thought in my head she was going to do some harmonies and maybe sing a couple of lines, and we'd have this kind of, goth Sonny and Cher thing going on. But then it came back and it was 95% her, and it was just stunning. It's like, wow, this is what this version of the song needed. And Wayne just kind of used his voice very sparingly in it, but it was,
it's got a lovely pace to it.
Yeah, it's the same tempo as the original. It's just the way it's treated around it. So with the video being that, that is sort of the face of Beauty and Chaos, that, being that it's not a typical band that performs, I think we've done maybe 12 videos, 11 or something. Yeah. And we really strive to make each one kind of unique and as far to the other side of the coin from its predecessor as possible. But, Cynthia's an actress in Brazil, so I figured she'd have some contact since we couldn't travel there or they couldn't come here. And her and Wayne came up with this great concept. They talked to a director she knew, and they found that it is a circus tent. They found in Sao Paulo, Brazil, they found the tent and got a friend that was an aerialist. And I mean, very cool video and way different from the predecessor Stranger with Cat Leone. That's real sort of 90s, has this 90s glitchy 9 Inch Nails, Massive Attack vibe to it. So this was fill that bill, and it's gorgeous. It's one of the my personal favorite videos that we've done.
Do you quite enjoy the visual element of it?
Yeah, it's something I hadn't really done before. I spent a lot of time in human drama, and then also with Gino's Jezebel, but not really on that side of it. Not having to go, hey, come up with a video concept, and I have a great, I've worked with Vicente Cordero Industrialism Films, who's done a lot of our videos, and it's a different animal, but it is kind of fun seeing it from something maybe you sketch out and have a couple of notes turn into something. And I don't look at any of them and cringe, which I think is a good thing. They are all different. Some are full band. The last couple have been less band oriented, which I like. And we're already kind of talking about maybe a video for that song I'd mentioned earlier, Orion. But yeah, it's certainly creative, and the last couple have just been tricky because we managed to pull them off in the shutdown. So you kind of have to find different ways, some workarounds.
Yeah, I'm not saying any of this has been easy, but I mean, in a way, do you feel in quite a lucky place with all of this, because you're creating music with a group of friends, if you like, that come upon you. You're then finding producers that want to take it in another direction. You're getting to work visually with artists as well, and it must, in a way, that's where every kind of artist wants to be with creating stuff.
Yeah, when I step back out of it and kind of it certainly has made me not tire. Even I can go back to our first record, and whereas things I've done with Jezebel and Human Drama, I always listen to it differently. Like I'd focus in, I wish I did this different on the guitar. That should have been. It's like, and I listen to it as a band member. With Beauty and Chaos, I kind of step back and forget that I'm even a part of it. And because I'm really, besides being friends, I'm fans of each singer and people that are on it. And so I listen to it like I would a normal album, if that makes sense. Not one I'm off with. But yeah, I've been extremely blessed that this kind of turned into to something, and then again, guys that are friends, but also take up a big part of my record collection. I mean, I mean, becoming friends with Simon and Roger, The Cure, and Wayne from The Mission, and not name dropping. I mean, we are actually friends. We talk about other stuff besides music, and it to sit on the couch in my studio with Robin Zander, who I've known probably 15 years now, but I still step back and being the kid that had Live at Budokan or something, and have Robin turn to me and go, "What do you think about that line?" And it's kind of like, being treated as an equal. Because in theory, when you mentioned about, when I was talking about not having the big names or anything so far on, with the two ladies that are part of this next record, it's certainly no slag. To me, being in this business as long as I have been, really the only difference of somebody who's popular, in the public eye and not, is the break. It isn't, it isn't talent, it's that they got their shot and they're popular. So
there's plenty of musicians out there as well who are fantastic musicians, but just never got a shot at it.
It's not that I'm sitting, it's like, these ladies that are going to be on this record, and some of them, Elena's band is really popular in Europe and stuff. But it's never lost on me that I'm in a pretty lucky position, and I take none of this for granted. Nobody that's been part of this has ever phoned it in. I've watched the work, and I've watched the songs in process, and they don't just send schlocky lyrics like, "Oh, my friend wants me to sing. Here's, that." They really put their heart and soul into it. And
well, I don't want you to be inundated, but I mean, is there anybody else that you'd like on the female side of things that's on this next record that you're potentially after to get on the record, or can't you say about that?
I guess I haven't looked at it in that. I mean.
Although Robert Smith does actually wear a dress sometimes.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd love, Susie Sue would be great. And again, these are like my wish list. Not that I have any pull to do it. I've always, Shirley Manson of Garbage is fantastic.
What a voice.
Elizabeth Fraser. There's lots of people. Females that I think. But I certainly plan, sorry, early. Evie Vine sings, she's done a lot of stuff with The Mission, and she did probably one of my favorite songs on our first album. So I plan to have Evie back again. My wife did a gorgeous job with Look Up on the first record, and that's still probably my favorite video that we've done. So there'll be a couple of the ladies returning. Kat, who sang Stranger, which was really the song that made me want, I strategically put that song last on The Storm Before the Calm, as to me, that was going to be the bridge going to this all female thing. So, hey, if any of those ladies I mentioned are listening and they want to do this, I'm all ears.
Well, we'll try and make that happen. that would be tremendous. I'd love to. I mean, they're all people that I've got in my record collection, so they're all singers that I really admire. I mean, especially with Elizabeth. I mean, she could do the whole. She could retreat and go back and do the whole thing where you don't actually understand the words.
Oh yeah,
which is which we always loved about the Cocteau Twins.
Oh yeah, this record, certainly these new songs are going to have a bit of that 4AD shoegazy thing. I'm really, guitar-wise and in textures and all, I really love that. I love my Bloody Valentine.
Fantastic.
So, I mean, I think Kevin Shields is just a brilliant, very underrated guitarist, and probably more of a soundsmith than that. But, this record will have some of that element, which I think is when you put a female singer, just has this really beautiful, airy element. And I seem to gravitate to those type of singers, which I was fortunate to be part of, when you say, working with people that are just like part of the record collection as being, me being part of the Remission International, Rachel from Slow Dive I've always loved her voice, and Julian Reagan, All About Eve. The stuff, her band there, and then the way like her vocals on Severina and stuff like that are just amazing. So to be on that record with her, is pretty fantastic. So I have little pipelines to both of those ladies. Whether it happens or not, we'll see. I'm always open to ask, and I take no offense if someone says no, you suck, or no, I don't have the time.
Well, look, this is what this interview's for. You see, now we've mentioned all of these people. They've all got a reference to
like everybody.
Yeah, we should put a link saying click here to apply. so that'd be good.
Pay zero.
Once this record's done, do you think you'll then go back to? Will we see a solo album from you? Do you think, or
no? This is
this is a continuation now.
Whether I eventually sing a track is possible. Not this record, unless I break out the skirt and put back on the mascara and try to fool everybody with the harmonizer. But no, this is, driving this vehicle is fantastic. At this point in my life and age and everything, to be able to do this, and I never thought this would have been possible. And when I kind of look back at it, like going, wow, we managed to have the first song that's got Wayne and Simon on a song together, the Mission and the Cure. You would think, wow, they've recorded at some point, but they've never been on a song together. I think Simon said he had never played on anybody else but a Cure, besides the Cure, until he did the song. So there's a lot of weird firsts that we put together. And Wayne and I, growing up big fans of T-Rex and Mark Bolan, to have his son Roland do one of his dad's, to me, one of the greatest songs ever, 20th Century Boy, and being on a song and video with him. The list just seems, not patting myself on the back, because again, I look at it from outside of it going, that's pretty cool, and
it is pretty cool. I think from a fan's perspective, I think from a fan's perspective, that's one of the cool things about this. You're a fan yourself.
Oh,
that's what's cool for fans looking in, like myself, who grew up with, I did the whole Robert Smith thing for ages. I even painted my lips and had but for anyone that went through and grew up with those bands, The Cure, The Mission, and you're living the dream, and you're bringing these people back together all in one place. That's a beautiful thing for any of us.
Yeah, I've been playing, as long as The Cure. Human Drama, like we were playing 80. We started, probably a little poppier than we developed into, but again, it's like we never got that big break. And again, the cool thing about this is to be treated as a contemporary with these people, and the most important thing is that they're friends, that it's never come across like someone doing me a favor or anything. Like I said, I think they really enjoy it. This is an outlet, and to make this cohesive and not sound like a compilation of just songs and people, I think is a testament. And my friend and producer, who I couldn't do this without, Michael Rosen, does a really good job making it sound, like one piece, that just a different singer comes in, which isn't easy, No,
not easy at all.
It could just come out as like, Beauty and Chaos, hits of the 80s, like with a Men Without Hats song, and then a Sisters of Mercy, if you're looking at the variety of singers, but it works. And
it doesn't come off like that at all. It comes out as something completely new and fresh, which is what's great about it. But you're hearing different elements that can only be from the people that are taking part, which is great. So you're drawing the best of people.
Oh yeah, everybody sounds like themselves in this.
Yeah.
I think lyrically, there's been some great songs. Like I said, no one phones this in. I think they really care. And it's been a I'm going to say a great ride. It's just been fun, kind of pulling this together. And it's gotten a bit of a life of its own.
We've got people listening, which is great. And they're lining up, as you can see, to come and sing on the album. so that's good. We should have put a telephone number on, but you being inundated, that's not what you want to happen. So I think it's a fantastic album. I've listened to the remix album. I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to hearing this all female thing as well, because I somehow gravitate towards female singers when it comes to music. And there are male singers that I love as well, but something about the female voice sometimes that's really quite special. So I'm looking forward to hearing that as well. And I want to know who else you managed to persuade in. As I say, it all depends who comes in that shop, really.
If you go back to the first record, if you don't have it when we get off, I'll make sure I send it to you. There's 4 fantastic tracks that have female singers on it, and I tend to light up when I hear those, when I go back and delve into those records, and it seems like the right thing to do. Not trying to be contrived, but when we do this, then I'll open up and see what happens after. But yeah, I have enough ladies that have graciously said they would be part of it to do this. We may go a little bit different route than I'm kind of anti Spotify and streaming and everything, which is just, I guess, part of my age.
How dreadful! Not at all.
To me, it's just it's another death nail in. But
I was going to say, in terms of, because the art side of this, the cover art, etc., that's a really important thing. Is there plans to expand on that maybe at some point and have maybe do an art project alongside maybe a book or something alongside the music? Is there a book in you, Michael?
At one point I was talking to a friend of mine who's a journalist, and she was putting it together, and it was more of a just kind of, I write a blog every Saturday, which is, I get up before my family's up and I sit in the kitchen with coffee, and I sit there and wonder, why am I doing this? And it's just almost, I think it's kind of therapeutic, just to show myself I'm doing something towards that, not just, going to a day job. And it's kind of a recap for myself. So she was kind of putting it together with some of that. And it just, we showed one publisher and they weren't so keen on it. I do think there's a story in this, and it's whether I write it, which I don't know. I don't know if that's in me. But I think there's a pretty cool story in this, and there's a lot of behind the things and a lot of firsts. And hey, these people, Robin Zander, Cheap Trick, Michael Anthony Van Halen probably toured together and played live shows, 2,000 times, but have never been on a record together. And to me, 2 of the most distinctive voices in American rock and roll, and they're on the same track on this record. And Roland singing one of his dad's songs, and it's just a lot of these weird little firsts that just are still kind of surreal, that I think would make a good read. Well,
maybe you could do it like this. I mean, there's been some great music autobiography and biography books, which is all I read, by the way. I've never really got into anything else that have been done in sort of conversation form. So maybe get someone to interview you along the way.
You volunteering?
Yeah, I can.
You put that down in the comments below too.
Yeah, we can put that in there.
If you haven't read Wayne's book Salad Days, it's actually really cool. It's a nice read. It goes up to from his upbringing to the day he departed Sisters of Mercy. And I think he's doing part 2, which will be kind of the mission days, which will probably be very interesting read. But yeah, that was a good book. I know there's a couple I have in my Amazon cart. I wanted to read Johnny Marr's book. Never been a Smith fan at all, actually. Never really jibed with Morrissey's voice or anything, but to me, he's a really brilliant guitar player, and I just kind of wanted to see maybe how a guitar player wrote. So, yeah, so I may read that, but down the line, I think it's, to me, I guess, documenting that in the book form, this whole journey, however it goes and whenever it ends, would be a something nice to document. And I get asked a lot, will we ever do this live? And I started thinking about it more than I thought I would right up to the COVID time, starting to see like how, and where to do this, because it would involve having some backing tracks, which I've never really done and not a huge fan of. But to me, I'd want it to sound as close to what we do as possible. And there's so many guitar parts.
Well, you'd either have to find some very unique musicians that can carry off.
Yeah,
a lot of good voices.
Well, I would never do it without that person singing it.
You wouldn't, right? No. So yeah.
So
maybe a one night only thing.
Yeah, the more people that come part of our family, the more chance that we have of going, we can get these 7 people, and that could be 10 songs, or 12 songs, and stuff like that. So I'd hate to see this end and never performing it. I'm really starting to miss that. My wife and I were doing a lot of shows with Gene Was Jezebel, some of these lost 80s festivals, and where you get there and you do three hits, it's all the packaging of, all the MTV era bands. And at least it was fun performing. This to me would be a lot more serious and try to really do the whole thing justice. But again, I'd love to see it happen. Just don't know when or how, but it's certainly not off my.
Unfortunately, none of us do at the moment, but we hopefully will get there.
Yeah, I mean, even post all this, trying to figure out, but hopefully it happens in some form.
Yeah, when I spoke to Billy Sherwood, who's in Yes and various a new band called Arc of Life the other day, and he said, I asked him, I said, would you play for a room of like 100 people at the moment? He said, I'd take one person in Starbucks.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a glut of people just wanting to play, and I think people maybe that have that, I'm not going to go. That band's playing and not going. I think maybe, hopefully, it makes people, that miss live music actually go out and support bands, and we go to shows, however those are going to be.
I think we'll all go absolutely mad once we're let loose again. I think we'll be like, give me more.
I think there's a lot of good music probably happening right now. I mean, again, Beauty and Chaos, not, I could see if we were on a big label and a touring band, having a label or manager going, don't release stuff. I know friends that have records that they're just holding on to, that are being told, you're crazy if you put this out now.
Because you haven't got the tour to promote it.
But for us, we didn't miss a beat there. We were able to come out because we weren't touring anywhere, anyway, so people weren't looking to us for that. But I think there's will be a lot of music coming out, and I think, kind of the darkness of this, to me, darkness usually brings some of the best music out, so I think
you've not been the first person to say that to me. There's been quite a few musicians that have said, this has been a great time for writing because musicians like to have a little bit of darkness and shade around them in terms of.
We definitely have that, but the whole thing with, I don't do the lyrics to this. We turn music over to singers, and some of them, especially on the first record, are like, well, what do you want me to write about? Or, to me, it's always like, show me how this music moves you. But I think for most of them, I showed them the cover picture of that record, which again was our daughter's kind of in, with a makeup mirror lit, but in this abandoned building, which I just said, to me, it's the project, it's beauty and chaos. The record was finding beauty and chaos. So to me, each person's chaos is different and each person's beauty is different. But so the darkness with a positive spin. And I think probably if you were to ask me what's the most important line in any of the beauty and chaos songs, it would be from the first record, Storm, that Ashton Knight wrote the lyrics, and fantastic lyricist and singer. It's called Storm, and the line was, "There's always a light." And to me, that's something I like to try to keep as a thread through this. I mean, I love goth as much as anyone in the darkness side of it. And, you can look around here, it's kind of a gloomy studio, but having that element of, hope, it can't just be all despair. I think is actually really important. And I think that song was so important in Beauty and Chaos, and that's such an important lyric.
Oh, absolutely. And I think sometimes people, going back to the goth thing, I think sometimes people sort of got that wrong in a way. I know, my mum certainly did. As soon as all the black clothes went on and the black eyeliner or whatever, it was like, oh, it's all depressing, this music.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, if you look at some of those songs, so many of them are actually about hope. You know, Mission, Tower of Strength. What a great song. I mean, look, it's all about coming out the other side. So
that's really, really important. And I think I've already in the lyrics that Elena and Whitney have written, there are elements of that in it. So I think that's going to be a thread that throughout it. Maybe you might have to dig for the thread, but it's definitely in there. I think it's in everything that we've done, and it's an important thing. Lyrics to me, that's the beauty of when we're talking about vinyl and things like that. To me, purchasing a record as a kid was an experience. It was like going there, deciding, having just enough money for one album, picking that one, making the choice, and then taking it home. And, of course, it was pre-internet, so you couldn't just find the lyrics or see what gear someone was playing. It was all about the liner notes. And,
Do you know what? I love the way you described that, and that is absolutely right. I think the importance of it was there was some sacrifice involved in it.
Oh, you're back.
Yeah, you had to save money.
Yeah.
What's that? Kids don't understand that these days. You had to save money. You had to forego something else, and then you had to make a choice, and you actually had to commit to that band, that record, that particular piece of music, and you had to quite often, as you say, relinquish not buying something else.
Yeah,
that was equally there. So, and that brings a beautiful thing with it as well, I think, because that also means that then you're invested in giving that time.
Yeah, back then you kind of to me, I love that our label 33 1/3 and Tim Perry he's a vinyl. He loves vinyl, so doing it on that and allowing us to do, it's like the first record's a double record. It opens up, kind of like a record that you had as London Calling or something like that, and big gorgeous pictures and lyric sheets and liner notes and that stuff that now is just so easy to find. Click, 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 click. Oh, there. This is every piece of gear this person uses. This is how you play the song. I mean, I used to sit there and slow records down to try to figure it. Never was good at copying anything, but you know, it was hard. Yeah, it was an investment. You had to, which I think made it. It kept a value on music, which I think is really lost today. And it's not about making money. I realize that, you know, our label will never recoup this, and these people that are writing songs, unless it gets into a TV show or a movie or something, and even that they pay so little nowadays. So it's not about that, but I think it goes to the value of music isn't there anymore. It's almost a disposable commodity. It's too easy to find, too easy to consume, and in some ways it's almost too easy to make, you know, which I think has some stuff that's not so good or not from the heart coming out, because you can go in GarageBand, click, move, drag, drum beat, here's this. Oh, I'm a songwriter, you know, and that's not. Some good stuff comes out of that, but then there's some garbage that comes out of that, and I think intelligent listeners see through that.
Yeah, we're not referencing the band, by the way, because they're a brilliant band, but
but yeah, I think it's a different time, and I don't know how it goes back. You know, for anybody that thinks going, well, I have Apple Music or I listen to you on Spotify, if you think that's supporting a band, and I'm not talking about Beauty and Chaos again,
any band,
everybody involved in this has a job or has their career, but a band that's, you know, in the back of a van or something touring, that's depending on you at a show to buy that CD or merch to have gas to go to the next line, to sit there and go, hey, God, yeah, great, run on fumes. I'm gonna find your song for free on YouTube, is a disservice. So I always say, if you hear something you like, buy it, especially if you want that artist or band to do another record. Because besides the time, it's expensive, you know, mastering and stuff. I got off track because I get on a soapbox about Spotify.
No, Michael, it's a soapbox that I quite often stand on myself. So,
but to me, it was about, just quickly on the vinyl, it was about the track order. To me, especially that first record, we toiled over what song should go into the next. And sometimes it's kind of great if you were looking at it as a vinyl standpoint, 4 or 5 songs. We just went, okay, I'm taking the idea of CD, of shuffle, of, you know, a Spotify playlist, just dragging a song in a different order. I'm going back to as I was a kid in my bedroom. I'm putting on this side 1. I'm going to dedicate my 18 minutes with 4 or 5 songs, sometimes with Beauty and Chaos, that's 3 songs in 18 minutes. But what if they can invest that time, what flows together? And that was a unique and fun process that goes right out the window as soon as somebody shuffles, but screw it. You know, that was kind of cool. So we broke with the idea of I went back when as a kid looking at Queen 2, the record they had side white. And we kind of did that on the first record. We had a dark record and a light record, and I kind of looked at the songs and kind of put them in a category. These are a little heavier, these are a little darker, and then the second record, the white side, were the ones that were a little airier and sparse. So that's kind of how we broke that up.
Yeah, and you see, you just don't get that with a CD, and you certainly don't get that on Spotify.
No,
you know, you have to have that pause where you actually get up and turn that needle over and to you know, turn that record over and put the needle on the other side. And that's really important. And that's why I think if we're looking at this from coming out of the darkness into the light, 2 great things. One, we are going to get out of this pandemic at some point, which is great, and we will get back to humankind being able to hug each other. Secondly, people are going back to vinyl. Why? Because actually, at the end of the day, we are tactile human beings, and I think ultimately, at the end of the day, however much man tries to make stuff that stops us from actually interfacing with stuff that's real, we push against that a little bit.
Yeah, I
know,
definitely a blowback to it, and vinyl sounds better. With the pop, the pops and everything. There's something that just is way more 3-dimensional than digital zeros and ones. There's just depth, and I don't even know how to answer the question of how do you master for digital or for an iPhone. Having someone listen to it out of a speaker that's the size of a pinhead. It's like, wow, we pan that. That's this reverb puts, and it's just like some of that just gets lost. But on the other side, there is that bit of technology that without it, there'd be no Beauty and Chaos, because 50-60% of the people that are involved in Beauty and Chaos, probably even more, are in another country or another city or doing something in their home studio. So it is, we transfer, it's Pro Tools, it's, sending a WAV file, all these things that, back in the, pre that technology, I would have been sending a 2-inch tape, or, hey, here's a 1/4-inch tape. Can you go into all that shit? Oh, sorry. To make that wouldn't have allowed this. So there's some benefit.
Technology enables, but it also, it has a light side and it has a dark side, like all things. Yeah. But I think ultimately what we end up with is some balance. And I like to think that look at it this way. You and I are talking now because of technology.
Yeah.
Right. We're putting this out now because of technology. But what we're going to tell people is we'd ultimately like you to go and buy some vinyl. So there you go. That's the true balance. That's what
it's the delicate balance of all things. I know there's a lot of, it's like our vinyl for this new record, the remix album, is delayed. It's, usually from our past experience, it's about 90 days to press vinyl.
You can't get anywhere to press vinyl at the moment.
It's ours is pushing 6 months now. And, it's hard to bark at somebody when they say, well, it's COVID. But I also think it's, there's just a massive amount of people doing it. And it's a shame, because there was our first record was pressed locally, and I got to go in this plant. It was called Rainbow, and they had 16 pressing machines. It was like stepping back in time, and it went out of business because of they sold the building, and I think the guy just didn't want to do it. So I don't even know where those machines went, but there are a few new pressing places popping up. But excuse me, but I think just the sheer amount that's happening. But yeah, I'm still waiting, for that same experience with Out of Chaos Comes, getting that with Cynthia's beautiful cover art and everything. And it's going to, again, our label, tiny, really a 2-man operation, never spares any expense. It's like, hey, let's do the nice cover. Let's do colored 180-gram vinyl. Let's do, let's print the lyrics and pictures and all that. So, that's kind of why we do it on a little indie label than maybe whatever tier, that would, one label I'll leave unnamed was kind of like, you don't play live, well, when they saw a couple of the names that were on the first record, they were like, oh, well, this is interesting. But you'd have to sell 10,000 CDs, and then we'd consider pressing vinyl. I'm like, I'm not going to sell 10,000 CDs. I'm not even sure, some of the bands that I love now are selling 10,000 CDs. So, and, again, a lot of stuff with Beauty and Chaos just happened by chance, or not so much by chance. Fate, intervention. Tish and I were playing a show with Gene-less Jezebel, walked off the stage, and a guy came up to me and like, hey, great, love the band, great guitar, you do what, blah, blah, can I get your drink? And we started talking, and he's went, I've always wanted to do a label. And it just kind of stemmed into doing that. So, this thing's Beauty and Chaos has definitely had some we'll leave it as divine intervention to kind of, when something says left or go right, some fork in the road, it seems something seems to guide us to the right direction, and certainly has put some wonderful artists kind of in my lap.
We have a question which is from David Lofthouse, which is it too expensive to do it yourself? I presume he's talking about produced vinyl. I would imagine yes.
Yeah, I think Tim actually looked at a pressing machine, but I think there's some expertise that comes with that. I don't think when you look back at some of the movies or even those old machines, I forget what they're called, but you can go in there and you sing and it cuts the vinyl.
Well, you'd want it to be quality as well, though, wouldn't you? Because that's part of the experience.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Yeah, I would say it's way too. I'm hoping this brings more companies doing it, and I hope they bring some that maybe do smaller runs, because I don't think a lot of bands are capable of selling 1,000 records.
Wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great if 3D printing technology evolved to the thing where you could just go right, cut to vinyl?
Yeah, there is an art form to it, but I'm sure 3D, maybe that's a direction that it goes. I mean, something that a band can go, hey, we'd like to do 200 vinyl, and if we need another 50, kind of the way you do CD duplication, but it would have to keep that warmth. I'd hate to see technology even ruin vinyl. Yeah.
He says David says like a wax drum cuts in the sounds for playing on a different machine. I'll tell you what, if someone could come up with that would just revolutionize things. If someone could come up with a vinyl cutting machine that you just plug in and it sounds good and it can produce small runs, cheap.
Put us down first. We're in.
Put them down. and I know a load of more bands that are straight there afterwards. Oh my goodness! Yeah, no, that would be
usually someone will see a need and figure out a way to do it and figure out a way to make money in it. But somehow money and music business don't go hand in hand, and that's okay.
Yeah,
there's still something you can't buy, And for me, it's that, kind of like the scene in Spinal Tap. Smell the gloves here, gather around. There is this joy of opening the record that you've worked and you've seen the cover on the screen and you've seen the picture of the colored vinyl, but when it's actually here, then going to your turntable and putting it on, and it's like you hear the little pop before, and it just this glorious fullness comes out. I mean, that's something you can't put a money price on, really. And to me, the other great thing is doing this and sending something off to a singer. And most part, they don't ever send, hey, here's a little rough mix of it, this is what I'm thinking. It's just they go home, they live with the song, record their vocals, and bing, you got mail, and it's a track, and it comes back, and it's like you're sitting there going, wow, I asked Wayne Hussey to sing, and he's sending his back, and one little part of you goes, I hope it doesn't suck, and the other part goes, it's Wayne Hussey, it's not going to suck, and then you hit play on the MP3 to see what you got back, and it is this kind of surprise, like Cracker Jacks, like, what am I getting? And it's every time it's still like a feeling experience that's just like great, and it's like, that's why I keep doing it. It's like I want more of that. I want back, like, this is how this person, whoever it is, interpreted this piece of music, because you start listening to a song as an instrumental, and you go, well, we need to leave space there, someone's going to sing this, and to then hand it to someone, it's like handing a painting that's half done and seeing what someone else is going to finish it and come back, and it's always a great experience. And
well, do you know what, Michael? It's been a great experience talking to you. It's been an absolute pleasure, my friend.
I appreciate you taking the time. This never was.
Hey, no, that's what it's all about. So, if people want to listen to the music, ideally, where do they go to buy it?
We have a store on our website, beautyinchaosmusic.com. It's on CD Baby. It's on Butterfly.
No, it's not.
I'm deleting right now. I end up doing that because people, some friends, especially some younger ones, are going, "Hey, it'll get you on playlist." And when someone brings up The Cure, it'll come back and you'll see. And it's like, okay, so I've always waited 60 days after the release to at least have enough people.
Did you say beautyinchaos.music.com?
No, beautyinchaosmusic.com.
.music.com. Okay, so what we'll do just to get people to absolutely know that is that. You see how we can do that?
Yes, I see.
Look at that.
That's that. Can you put Shirley Manson, please call under that, and Rachel Boswell and Julian Reagan and Susie Sue?
I'll just put your telephone number, shall I? And just
my wife loved that. It's like
you'll be sitting there for the rest of the evening going, all right, I've got Shirley on the phone now. Sorry about this.
But yeah, that's where it's available. It's vinyl, CD, and digital. And if anyone buys the vinyl and CD, they get the digital version instantly. And there's lots of tracks like the remix because of the limit of what you can put on an album or CD. There's all for both remix records. There's like 10 or 12 extra mixes, so it's a lot. And I get that we throw a lot at our family out there, and but they seem to enjoy it.
Absolutely. Well, of course we do, because you're passionate about it, and that's come across in the last hour. So it's been absolute pleasure talking to you, and we'll keep in touch. And then further down the line, when that female records come out, the female vocalist records come out, we'll come back and we'll talk again about that one, because that will be tremendous as well.
I think you get it. I'll over the next week I'll send you like 2 little roughs so you kind of see where this is going.
Lovely. I might even go falsetto so that I can get included.
Yeah, see if Robert will.
I'll just wear tight pants. Don't worry, we'll get up there.
All right, my friend.
Okay, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thanks very much, Michael, for joining me today. Bye for now.
Take care. Cheers.